Okay, well here we go. I have the plastic bags on it to keep dust off when I'm not working on the thing. All done. I finished putting all the bearings on. I put all the spin this around. Put all the shift forks back in, rods and blah blah. So put the new gutter assembly on. I even smeared on a little bit of a sealant on the gutter just because there's some cracks there where it holds together. I'm sure that's not needed, but I did it anyway. The oil gutter, of course, catches oil slung off the first gear, sends it out this little spigot here, which goes all the way back to the bronze bush that's fitted right into the tail housing right around here. So the only thing we have left to do now is reinstall it back into the that empty casing over there. So we'll do that later, and that should be it. I'm pretty excited. I hope it's quiet now. I mean, it seems okay when I spin it like this. You know, it's all nice and quiet. I checked all my end gaps, so I don't really understand how those are set, but they're pretty tight. But they do have some gap in them, so I guess that's going to be okay. I don't really understand how it's set, but it's set some way. I was wondering about how these things work, because one thing I did notice is that the counter shaft can move fairly easily inside this bearing, and you know, you can tap it a little bit this way and the gears will get hung up. I guess what I was trying to do is make sure I had nice flush fitting gears, you know, that the counter shaft and the main shaft gears are always aligned nice and tight. Then I got to thinking about it. They're always talking about this front shim right there, okay, and the importance of that. And when I got to think, well, duh, I think the way this counter shaft is set is when it spins its natural inclination, if I interpret the gear right on the helical cut gears, is this thing wants to drive forward because it's spinning this way. It's kind of like trying to climb it and get itself out, which would be a thrust going in this direction. Now you've got a thrust washer installed back here. I can't really show you, but it's back there, and so that's, you know, it's going to stop it that way, but it goes this way, and so it's going to want to go this way as much as possible. And if you put that spacer on the face of this bearing, that stops it. So basically that spacer sets how far this countershaft can creep forward. That's just me guessing. I mean, I don't know. I'm just taking a wild guess, but it sort of makes sense. So that's why it's so critical that that spacer be correct, because if this countershaft is allowed to move too far forward, you get all kinds of interference in the gears. Like for instance, the countershaft can start rubbing into the parts it's not supposed to. It's hard to explain, but if the alignment of these gears, especially right around this front area, especially on this nose section here, if this gear here, that part of the gear, starts rubbing into this countershaft, you're going to have all kinds of problems. So that's how I guess that works. Anyway, maybe. Again, I don't know. But I did notice that the countershaft can definitely, I mean, you can take it and tap it a few times gently there, and it will move, and that will affect all the alignment of all these gears. So I think that's pretty critical. I already tested the shifting mechanisms. Put the new I put the detent balls in here. I put new springs, and I used, of course, new drift pins in all the forks to hold to the shift rods. So new springs, new roll pins, new counter shaft and main shaft nuts, staked. I went ahead and staked these anyway, even though I did use these screws here to hold the bearing plate in place. I went ahead and staked them anyway, even though I used the thread locker. I don't know that I needed to do that. So all I got to do now is put it all back together and button it all up, and I'm going to test spin it by putting a soft coupling between this and say a drill and spin it all up and try to see if I can hear any noise. I did that with a test transmission, that one over there, just to see that transmission is a total unknown. I just got that out of a junkyard just as a test so I could see how it sounds compared to this one. I know that's not a very valid test because that's an unknown condition as well. That'll be another future project. I really bought it. I was thinking about just trying to get a bell housing and putting a C version out of a later transmission. But I'll open it up, take a look at the gears, see what kind of condition they're in, and decide what I want to do with it. But you know, I guess I'm going to corner the market on ZX transmissions here pretty soon. Anyway, that's all for now. I'll be posting this up, and I hope you enjoyed this series. I'll probably get one more video when I put it all back together just to show it all. Anyway, that's all. Thanks for watching.